Hi guys, Phil Good here with another video for you. This is chapter 19 of my book, Ignited by the Bottle, Delivered by the Fist. And this chapter is about accidents that changed our lives forever. You may recall in the last video, I explained got up to the point where I had my accident on the farm at Yarragon, and I had an operation to clean out my meniscus. This is my left knee. And later on, the surgeon actually at the time, the orthopedic surgeon said, quite often when when you open your knee up, you start to lose the cartilage, the cushioning between joints, which is eventually what happened to me. But going back to my wife's accident in 2014, Eileen's accident in 2014, where she broke both her shoulders. You may recall from the past video that she was on heavy opioids, oxynorm, oxycontin, oxycodone, and had horrific side effects and minor accidents, falling over and things like that, or arriving into a room and just literally stopping, standing there asleep. And that was the extent and the effect of that heavy opioid medication. It's terrible, terrible stuff. And even the chap that actually at Melbourne Pain Clinic, the specialist down there that actually put Eileen on those medications, he actually said to us at one point, he's obviously an orthopedic specialist and specialist and an expert, one of the foremost experts in Victoria and probably one of the foremost experts in Australia, actually. Anyway, he said to us that one day, I'm just a licensed drug dealer. I'm a licensed drug dealer. Yeah. It's incredible because, when Eileen had that accident, broke both the shoulders, like I just said, and she's put on those heavy opioids, oxynorm, oxycontin, oxycodone, fentanyl patches. Eileen and I have been dairy farmers. We've never seen anything like that. Never seen anybody in a state like that. Didn't understand about opioids or the possible side effects that we soon learned, and it was absolutely horrific. So this specialist at Melbourne Pain Clinic said to Eileen in 2017, 3 years after she started on those opioids, that Eileen, I've got to get you off those opioids because they're killing you, right? So anyway, she went down to Victorian Rehabilitation Centre and stayed there for a week. And there was a weaning process. She was put onto ketamine infusion to get off the heavy opioids, right? So she did very well. She got off those in the week, did excellent actually. One of the side effects of that process, though, is you get diarrhea and you can feel weak. And she had an incident soon after that where she fell over in the shower, actually, and trying to retrieve some soap that had fallen onto the shower floor and hurt her lower back. So a back problem became a huge issue for her. And so that was, and she had another accident and hurt her back. She'd forgotten, she was climbing up a step ladder in the pantry and forgot there was 2 steps on the step ladder actually, and thought there was one. So she went down to the floor from the top step down and fell over and hurt her back again, made it even worse. She had a lot of back pain, right? So a lot of the medications that the pain expert in Melbourne Pain Clinic put her onto was another version, was a mild heavy opioid. It wasn't a heavy opioid, it was a mild opioid, sorry, called Palexia. And she needed a lot of that because she was still in a lot of pain with her shoulders, frozen shoulders. And of course, now she had lower back pain as well. So all these sort of things. Anyway, from 2017, let's fast forward to 2019. We had been farming in, as I said in the last video, at Yarragon, the farm out there, from 2016, 2017. 2017, we were renting a house in Druin in the Gippsland. area of Victoria. And so Ollie and I were out for a walk one day. This is in 2019. It was in January, towards the end of January, early February 2019, actually. We were out for a walk, walking up hills and on the footpaths in Druin there. And one morning, so we went out early, and anyway, we decided to cross over from the left to the right side of the street. And as we're doing that, Eileen's sneaker hit a driveway entrance curbing. It was a driveway entrance, and it had about a lip on it, about an inch and a half, I suppose. And Eileen's sneaker caught that, and she fell over. She was right beside me, but just there's a couple of steps behind me actually. She fell over, and as she fell sideways, her head hit the concrete curbing on the roadside verge. So she was knocked clean out, right? Knocked clean out, and she had concussion for about 4 months. She couldn't sleep properly. She hardly slept at all. So that was February. By the time we got to the end of April, going into May, she actually got blood coming out of one ear, raw blood. So she went down to St Vincent's Hospital down in Melbourne, and it took them ages to diagnose what her problem was. But eventually they said that she had Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. And for that, they put her onto steroids, right? She was on opioids. Now they put her onto steroids, right? As well as on top of. So she was on steroids, and they gave her a process of weaning off those steroids. And anyway, as she was weaning off the steroids, this we're still in Druin at the time, she sort of became, what she developed was she developed manic psychosis or bipolar disorder coming off those steroids. And she'd come out from her room in our house in Druin and come out and sort of sit down in a chair and start screaming, or wouldn't get out of bed at all. And I just didn't know what to do. And I sort of rang the specialist at Melbourne Pain Clinic. What do I do? And he said to ring the community mental health. And so I rang them because I was desperate. I didn't know what to do, right? And so two people came out. And at this stage, Eileen was laying in bed. She wouldn't get out of bed, right? So a male nurse and a female nurse, two senior people from Warragul Community Health came out, went into the bedroom, and the female nurse sat down on a seat beside Eileen, where she was laying in bed, and male nurse stood behind her. And all the time, Eileen did not open her eyes, right? And of course, the female nurse said, "So can't you open your eyes, Eileen?" And Eileen shook her head and said, "No, I can't." She said, "Well, who's in the room?" And she pointed obviously to the nurse beside her. Without opening her eyes, she said, "Oh, there's a male nurse behind you. My husband, Phil, is standing at the end of the bed, and my son, Alex, is standing on the other side of the bed," without even opening her eyes. So they interviewed her, and they surmised that they'll have to send her by ambulance to the McAllister ward at La Trobe Hospital, which is sort of like a low end, not high security, but a low end mental health facility. This is in McAllister ward at La Trobe Hospital in Traralgon. But she's taken in under the Mental Health Act. So, and at that time, and that was in 2019. That was May going into May type thing, right into May, about middle of May, and because I'd had my first knee replacement in March of that year, a couple of months beforehand, right? So, and I had my manipulation to my knee a bit later on. So actually, at the time that Ina was taken in by the ambulance to McAllister Ward, I was on crutches. I was still on crutches, right? After my operation, knee operation, for a full knee replacement of my left knee, right? So anyway, and they said to me, "Oh, Phil, because you had your knee replacement, you're on crutches, you won't be able to drive." And I didn't say anything to them. This is what the surgeon said to me, the orthopedic surgeon. But there's no way that, because Eileen had to stay in that facility at McAllister Ward in Traralgon, right? And there's no way that I was not going to see her every day, right? So because I knew it was my left knee, my right leg, my right foot controlled the brake and the accelerator, right? So come hell or high water, I was going there. I was going there every day, and I did. I stayed there from the moment I arrived, so it's about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning to night, say 6, 7 p.m. Every day, all day, for the 4 months that Eileen was in there, in that hospital ward. She couldn't get out of there until for 4 months. So what they did was they tried all sorts of medication, but nothing brought her out of the manic psychotic state that she was actually in. So my son Alex and we had to go before a panel. This was before a panel of experts down in Melbourne. They had a video conference in the hospital because the psychiatrist at the Latrobe Hospital at McAllister Ward said she needs to have ECT, an ECT procedure, electroconvulsive therapy. In other words, they pretty much fry your brain, right, to try and get you out of the state that you're in back to some sense of normality. So this sounded extreme, but none of the medication was bringing her out of the manic psychotic state she was in, right? So we became desperate, right? So of course she had her first ECT, and it did bring her out of the state she was in, brought her back to the beginnings of some sort of sense of the old Eileen, of some sort of normality. And the very first day that happened, two of our children from New Zealand were arriving to see Eileen in the hospital. So she was able to see them and recognize them, recognize her son and daughter from New Zealand. And so anyway, that continued on, like I said, for 4 months. At the starting point, my son and my son came up occasionally. We had to shower her, and at times, she wouldn't sort of eat, so I had to even feed her and stuff like that, and be with her and help her that way. And all the while I was on crutches as well, 2 crutches, then 1 crutch, right? But it didn't stop me. I mean, I love my wife um, more than anybody in the world, and there's no way in the wide world that I was not going to see her every day, all day, for the whole 4 months. Because like I've said earlier in earlier videos, I've unconditionally loved my wife from the moment I met her, from the moment we got married, all through our nearly 49 years of marriage. I've unconditionally loved that lady, my Eileen, and I know she has me as well. The soul destroying part for me was when I had to leave and go home each night. And when Eileen got better after a couple of months, she'd walk out with me to the doorway, as I was going out to the car in the corridor. And she'd say, "I wish I could come home with you, Phil." And that it really broke my heart, that she had to stay in a locked facility. And I had to go home on my own without my wife, the woman that I love most in the world. So it got to the end of that 4-month period, And as we were saying goodbye to the nurses, there's many of the nurses that said, it's not only the ECTs that helped Eileen, but the real reason Eileen got out of the state she was in back to the way she is, which was she was pretty good, was because of the incredible love that you two share with each other. That love, my love for Eileen and hers for me, got us through, got Eileen through that period, and got to a decent recovery. Sure, as they explain in the ECTs, the electroconvulsive therapy treatment affects your memory, right? It did for her. Your short-term and medium-term memory. And even to this day, that was in 2019, right? Now it's 2026. 7 years later, quite a bit of her memory has come back. But a lot of her memory has not. The specialist says it would, but they were wrong. It hasn't. And ever since that point of ECTs, Eileen has found it very, very difficult to converse, to get into a conversation. It's almost like where she used to be in the past, she used to be, or before that, she used to be the life of the party, right? She was the talker and I was the quiet one, right? And but after that, she found it very hard to converse with people, very hard to get involved into a conversation. So the effect of all the ECTs, things like that, and the medication she was on, it did change her personality. And one of our daughters down in Melbourne said it's like she'd lost her mum, the old mum. She used to talk to Eileen every day on the phone, either once or twice. And she got to the stage where she couldn't, she realized that Eileen couldn't sort of have that interaction, that two-way conversation like she used to have. And even the grandchildren noticed it as well. Where's our old nanny gone? We want our old nanny back. But of course, you adjust. And for me, it was our reality, right? Each and every day. And I became, probably from the time of 2014 when I first broke her shoulders. So 2014 to now it's March 2026. So for a bit over 11 years now, I've been Eileen's full-time carer. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't have anybody come into the house. I do everything myself. I will help, at times she'll help with preparing a meal because we sort of eat sort of different sort of foods. She'll help with a bit of meal preparation. Then I go to the supermarket with a grocery list. I do the washing, hang out the washing, do the vacuum cleaning, keep things clean, bake beds and things like that. And try and make, Eileen as happy as possible, right? So that's the state of the nation, and so you never know when an accident is going to happen. It'll change your life forever. In other words, you're still alive, but you've got a different version of the life you had before your accidents. And so it has been for us. And many people go through the same thing, or certainly can identify with somebody, either in the family or friends, but their life has been changed through accidents, through death of a loved one. So anyway, guys, that was situation, and that's the situation pretty much right up to the present moment. So from 2017, I had my last full-time farming position as manager of dairy farm, but I still, after my knee replacement in 2019, I still worked on farms after 2019, 20, and 21, and then stopped then. So yeah, so we're both retired when we were 67. We're both 72. It's going to be 73 this year, and hoping that I can get this book that the man above asked me to, pretty much wanted me to write, has asked me to write, because the title for this book, United by the Bottle, Delivered by the Fist, came into my mind in a dream probably good 20 years ago, I suppose. And I woke up out of a dream, and that was the name of the book, United by the Bottle, Delivered by the Fist. And then I went back to sleep. I woke early enough and told her, and she remembered that title. So a few years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago, I had my Kajik records opened, and the Kajik records keepers had said, Phil, you've accomplished everything pretty much you had. Could you sign it? I must have signed a pre-life mission, of things that I wanted to accomplish in this lifetime before I incarnated into this life. And the occasional records keepers anyway said to this lady who was a psychic, you've done everything pretty much you need to do in this lifetime. You've you've gone through challenges, you've overcome challenges, and now you're at this point, right? The only thing that you haven't done yet was write the book, Ignited by the Bottle, Delivered by the Fist. That's the only thing they said I still had to do in this lifetime. There's a couple of other things obviously I'd like to do, but that was the main one, right? So, so writing the story is very important to complete my mission in this life, I guess. So, okay, guys, I'll probably get another 1 or 2 videos, and then I've got to start transcribing these videos so I can create that book that I'm going to write. So, but all these videos that I've done, 19, about probably be 20 or 21, all going to be transcribed, and these transcriptions will be edited and then put into a book for you guys to read. So, okay, guys, love you and leave you. I'll leave you with that. Bye for now. Unconditional, love you all. Bye now. Love you.